some very simple messages coming through about the fact that Helen said, it's your family, you make it what you want it to be, and not to make that too simplistic, but the fact of the matter is a lot of parents forget that, and they think, oh, someone else is going to run my family for me, and there are other groups who try and run it for you. The schools will try and do a lot of it, and everybody, and the media does it all. And actually what we're saying is take it back and make it what you want it to be. But I just need to talk a little bit about who you are as a parent. And this session is the shape of a parent. So it's session 3 in the books, and the heading's down there. And then there's going to be a little exercise to do following that, which is very straightforward. But let me just talk a little bit about parenting tips, because they're very much in vogue at the moment. I noticed if you search on the internet for that, there are loads of different types. So modern imagery to show parenting types are things like tiger parenting. Tiger parents are those who are sort of growling on behalf of their children and basically getting everything for them. They often are very strict on discipline. They often pushing their kids at school all the time to achieve academically. They're sort of very proactively and a little aggressively trying to promote their children and their children's welfare. And listen, let me just tell you, you be the sort of parent you want to be, and I'm not going to tell you any of these are right or wrong. You'll get your idea of what they might be from what we say, but there's obviously pros and cons to all of these sorts of things. I also wondered if I was a little hands-off during the last 2 or 3 kids, I think I just got a bit bored of it really at secondary school. And I think actually I did apologise to them, because I think I failed them a little bit. We weren't quite so hands-on with schoolwork, and we weren't so hands-on with homework, and also spending time with them reading and doing stuff, partly because we were just so busy with so many people in the house. But I just wondered if I wish I'd heard what I'm going to tell you now, because I think I would have been more hands-on. And now in the end, they've all done fine, and they're all in jobs they like to do, but I do think maybe I could have helped them a little bit more during those times, some of the younger ones. But tiger parenting is that rather aggressive stuff. Attachment parenting, which is very common in younger children now, is very, very pro, this child has to stay by me at every moment of the day, and I'm the only one who can satisfy them and meet their needs. And so you find that sometimes comes out in things like very co-sleeping. A lot of people talk about co-sleeping now and that sort of thing. And also they're very non-confrontational, so they don't want to do sleep training with kids and things like that. And some of my family have gone through that little bit of attachment parenting really, and they've got themselves in a little bit of a down the line where they're struggling to get back now. The helicopter parent is that sort of, they speak for themselves, these images, always around, always looking down, over attentive, monitoring all aspects. So children particularly don't develop their friendship groups very easily without the mum and dad just being there. So they then tend to go to secrecy. I mean, kids will just do it. They'll do what they're going to do, kids, but they'll do it secretly and try and hide it from you if you're that sort of parent, if you're over it too much, where you monitor and everything. Now, we talked about screens. You do need to monitor mobiles, but also sometimes you need to trust your kids on the screen. So it's a real challenge, And then there's sort of free-range parenting, which is a really nice name for a modern, really. It's just to let the kids do what they want. It's not actually that. It's like they need to learn to have unsupervised play, and they need to develop and everything. And actually, I noticed with grandchildren why some of them can't seem to play on their own. And actually playing on their own is a good thing to do, using their imagination and things like that. I was really good. One of my grandchildren, I've just recently, they're having another baby, so I went to sort their house out a little bit, and I built a kitchen, a little, IKEA kitchen for this little girl. She woke up from her nap, and there it was. She's just under 2. My son says she plays on it all the time, pretending to make cups of tea and cook them, and she loves it. And she can play on her own really well. It's like she's just doing her free-range stuff there, and she'll learn a lot from that. And he just watched out this morning. He said he's in charge this weekend because his wife's away. He said she didn't want breakfast this morning. She just wanted to play with the kitchen all morning, and it's quite new still. But I don't know what sort of parent you are or want to be. And all the styles have pros and cons. So choose the things that you feel are most important, because whatever sort of parent you are will have a massive effect on your child. And if they don't like it, they'll react against it. If they do like it, they will reproduce it. So when they're parents themselves, they'll either reproduce what they had as parenting because they felt it was beneficial, or they'll react against it if it was too stern or too liberal or whatever it is. So your effect will determine in some ways what your grandchildren are parented like a little bit, if you're not careful. But I do think there are some things I want to focus on now, is how much independence you give your child and how much you reinforce limits with your children. And I'm coming back to this whole issue of boundaries because, let me just tell you, when we had, I can't remember, a few kids who were a little, I said, my first child, okay, Helen had pethidine just before giving birth to Tom. Okay, so he came out going, hi guys, I'm so cool. You know, he was relaxed, he had 10 sleeps a day, we had to wake him up to feed him in the morning, he went to bed every night without any trouble, he was like, you know, like these kids, they're so lovely, you know, and he was so cool, okay. Katie came out going, hands above her head, screaming, shouting, and Katie almost broke us, I have to say. She wouldn't sleep, she wouldn't, anything, she was like, so tough as a kid. And at that point, we came across a guy in the States called James Dobson, and he was on a thing called Focus on Family. And I'll tell you how old I am, you could rent their films, which were on big reel-to-reel film projectors, and we ran in the local school because we needed some help. So we got 200 people came to the local school, because other parents obviously struggling as well. And it's called Focus on Family. And the one I ran was Shaping the Will Without Breaking the Spirit, because she was a very willful child, Katie, but she was also very full of spirit and life as well. And all those things are great. But I needed to put boundaries in. I hadn't had to put in with my first child. And then we learned that boundaries are a positive thing because they help that child. She could have easily, I think, gone off the rails. But by having clear boundaries, it was quite helpful. At one point, she did actually leave home because I said to her, no, if you're going to live like that, you can't live here like that. She was 16. And she said, well, okay, I'll go. And she walked out and went to a friend's house, a girlfriend who we knew. And this was early days of mobile phones, so I spent 45p on a text. I texted her and said, darling, I love you, but we can't live like that because it's not good for you. And didn't reply initially, but then later she said, Dad, I love you. And we came home the next day, so we were left home for a night. It's not the end of the world, is it? But when she came home, things shifted completely. Because that boundary, where it was to do with a boyfriend and sleeping with him, that was not going to be something we would prepare to just deal with, and that she's too young for that to be worked out any other way. And I really, do you know what? She was the very difficult teenager until that time, and from that time on, she's become the most wonderful adult. I mean, it's quite remarkable how she's, of all my children, almost the most affirming child I've got. I mean, it's like, we had Barney, we sorted it out, and now we're very good friends. And she would be the one who stands up and says something at one of our birthday parties or our events. She would say, Helen and I, she's called the word rock and anchor. And I just think, you know, sometimes boundaries are needed in order to help them develop and grow into the human. She's happily married, she's got 2 lovely kids, she's got good work, she enjoys her work. You know, it's just like, got she. Now, I don't know what happened if we hadn't. I mean, Helen was so cross with me at that point, you know, because I would see, you know what mum's like, oh, don't say that to her, no, don't go down, all those things. But in the end, I wouldn't advocate, I'm not advocating you do this, because they went through murder with it. But somewhere you've got to say, how will I reinforce the limits for their safety and their welfare? And there's four sort of styles that I think I want to explore with you. And the first one is, and let's just go through. Your parental background will affect this. Your personality, I'm that sort of more, thank you darling, I'm that sort of more firm person, collective person. And also observing others around you, you'll watch and see what other parents do. But somewhere along the line, you've got to decide where you're going to be. Now, if I just put there, you've got this in your books, this image, okay? There's two axes. One is being warm to cold, and the other is being firm to loose. And the four different attributes I want to talk to you about fit in there. So as I'm going through them, have a little think about where they're going there, okay? And this is already, it can be illustrated, so with some examples, okay. So the first thing is the authoritarian approach to firm boundaries. And that's really the law-based. Because I say so, that's what's happening. It's quite domineering, and there's not much room for negotiation. Okay, so here's an example, okay? You're in a park with a 3-year-old, and the 3-year-old snatches the ball from a little girl and runs off with it to play with it, and you as a parent say, sorry, come here, give me that ball back, gives the ball back to the little girl, and then says, you've been very naughty, we're going home. Okay, now that's very common. I've done that a few times, okay, I'll just put it into it. Second one would be the more indulgent parent, okay? And an indulgent parent is very warm, but slightly uncertain about the ground rules, okay? So you will give in to your children, and you'll maybe put your children above other children. So you'll speak to your children's defence. This happens in a lot of schools and things like that. I've noticed, I'm not going to sexually stereotype here, but I got called in a lot for my daughters in terms of friendship conflict resolution at schools. There was always friends seem to have fallen out with each other at school. Could you come in, Mr. Collier? I was chair of governors, it was really annoying. Could you come in, Mr. Collier, and try and sort this out? But Alice seems to have fallen out, and there seems to be an atmosphere in the class. So, you know, I had to go in and do those sort of things. Now, one of the things I normally do is, because I'm not that sort of parent, I would say, I'm very sorry for her. I'll talk to you when we get home. Are you okay as the teacher? They go, oh, why are you asking about that? I don't want my kids to upset you and that sort of thing. But the sort of the pinching the ball thing is, so Sammy pinches the ball. Any kids called Sammy? Have you got any Sammys? I can use that then freely. Okay. Oh, have we got a Sam? Oh, okay. I'm sure Sam's son. Okay. Nigel. my kids were saying the other day, you're never going to get a kid called Derek now, are you? And one thing they said is, no one's ever going to call a baby Clive. Here's your new baby. Hello. What's your name? Clive. Really? It's never going to happen, is it? Clive will never be named. A baby will never be named Clive again. Do you think? No, I don't think it will never happen. I don't know why that was. So this thing is Sammy or Nigel, whatever it is, goes up to the little girl, pitches the ball, and plays with it, and you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. He just wants to play, though. It's okay, isn't it? He just wants to play." The little girl's crying her eyes out, and her mum's looking very grumpy with you. And you basically can't overcome your defence of your child enough to say, "Can we give the ball back?" You just say, "Oh, sorry about that. It's ever so difficult. He said he would love to play with it." And you just keep going on, okay? So I'll tell you another story about that in a moment. And that's an indulgent one. The negligent one is the person who doesn't really care. They've often had failure in their own family, and they've maybe not been cared for themselves, but they get very disengaged. And so in that scenario, Sammy pinches the ball from the little girl, and the negligent parent is standing at the park on the phone, just not even aware of what's going on. And I see that very much around situations, and it's a very unhelpful one. And then the final one is the authoritative, which is warm but firm. And then we're all going to end up, we all know we're going to end up down here as the right place to be, but getting there is not always easy. When you do that, it does produce a sense of, independence in the child, but also the need to negotiate and talk things through. So coming back to the pinching the ball thing, Sammy pinches the ball from the child, and you say, "Sammy, it's not yours, it belongs to that little girl, come here. And you say, look, darling, give it back to her now. And in fact, actually, give it back to her. Ask, maybe she would play with you. Ask if you'd like to play with her on it. And maybe have a little go. Or could you have a little go when she's stopped playing with it and that sort of thing. So you're basically saying, this is the deal, Sandy, and it's not negotiable, but you can come to terms with it in a different way if you're prepared to. Now, you will have a natural style, just to do with your personality. Mine is quite firm, and I have to temper that a little bit and not be too firm with the children and things. But you don't want to, you also need to be able to set it for yourself. And you say, I'm going to be that sort of parent. In fact, I make myself accountable to my wife, and we make self accountable, husband say, to be that. So if I'm getting to one of these, let me know. Let me just give you another example. Say you've got a teenager, 13-year-old, okay, and the 13-year-old comes home with a DVD. Now, most of you will never have a 13-year-old coming home with a DVD because they won't be existing anymore. I'm not a DVD player anyway, but it's a good illustration. They want to watch a 15-year-old film, 15 film. That's okay. But the authoritarian parent says, no way. Confiscates it or takes their screens off them, and you're not going to watch anything, okay, anytime at all. The indulgent parent says, oh, okay, well look, it shouldn't be because there's quite a lot of violence in there, but just this once, it'd be okay, and maybe you should in the future. The negligent parent doesn't even ask and say, yeah, you go ahead, do what you want. And the authoritative parent says, well, they're quite violent, those things, especially not best for you, but listen, let's choose a different film, sit down and watch it together, and then when you are older, you will be able to, we'll have a look at what films you can watch or you can't watch in the future. Now the trouble is that takes more time and energy, doesn't it? It takes you to invest in it, but in the end your child learns how to be able to say, yeah, there are some guidelines I can't cross, and my parents will do something about them without getting angry. And this is the key, reinforcing these without getting angry in the process. But also being very clear as a couple, or the people you parent with, or with your parents who are grandparenting as well. I just long to have these discussions more with my own children about what do you want this to be for your children. I was taking one of my grandchildren to the slides the other day. He's 5, this is William, he's a nice lad. And he was going down, wanted to go down the slide, so he ran up to the top of this earth mountain and was going to get on the slide. And there was a guy next door with his little kiddie, and his kiddie was climbing up the slide from the bottom. And so I said, look, William, just wait at the top. When he's finished, you come down, okay? And so Will stands there, and Will's very funny because his little boy, when he gets spins out, bang, he goes like this. He's standing at the top of the slide like this, waiting for this little boy to get off the slide. And the dad said, Sammy, let's call him Sammy, sorry. Sammy, come on down. This little boy wants to go down the slide. Sammy, come on down. Oh, they are annoying. They don't do what you tell them, do you? He looked at me and I thought, do you want to hear what I'm going to say about this? Said, Sammy, just come on down because he wants to come. Sammy came down and William went down the slide, ran down, and then Sammy's back up the slide. Up there. And at this point, the dad said, Sammy, I told you can't do that. Sammy, come on down, come on. Give me 10 minutes, Sammy. I saw this one out. No, he didn't, obviously, not my child. But William said, look, well, we'll come back later. Because it was too much of a battle to go on. But the reality was, the dad was being so indulgent that he was spoiling for other children as well, and it's just not helpful. He wasn't able to reinforce the boundary he was trying to apply, which is coming down. Now I felt for him because he was quite embarrassed by his child's behaviour. His kid didn't care at all. He just climbed up and down with his boots on this slide, according he couldn't even live there. And in some ways, that's a silly, trivial example, but it's day-to-day life for children, and it's in those day-to-day life scenarios that you reinforce values and boundaries and actions and what they can expect from you. And what I'm going to ask you to do is make sure you're consistent in those areas. Because it's better to be consistent than to be variable. Because in the end, choose which way you want to be. Your choice, you'll reap the harvest of it when they're teenagers, but choose what you want to be, but be consistent in it, because it will help you. Now, the little exercise I'd ask you to do is very straightforward. If you're here with your partner, okay, this is very dangerous because they must really will plot a different place for you than you plot for yourself, okay? If you're on your own, you can just say, yeah, I'm just down here, I'm really cool, I'm really great. Why don't you actually mark where your style is, mark where your partner's style is, but also talk together about what you want to adopt and what you want it to be. Now listen, you be as real and as honest as you want to be on this. No one's marking this, okay? So it's no good you putting down something that may not be true, okay? So just have a little look honestly about where you are and...
So just one cross?
Yeah, you can put as many crosses as you want on there if you want to, but yes, the one that represents who you are. Yeah, and firm, that would be me. My danger is I wouldn't be quite warm enough, I would be a little too cold on it, and I need to be warmer, but I still am quite firm on those sorts of elements. Okay? Block yourself.